co-host from FIDE Protocol with interesting topic about conundrum of blockchain tech and DeFi in 2020. So this stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Sir Jay. Very thank you for hosting us today from FIDE Protocol. I have a guest today from a very prominent old guard in the Bitcoin space, Danson Teo. Today, we are going to discuss about the conundrum of blockchain technology and also DeFi in year 2020, especially in a COVID-19 period of time. A lot of things have happened and changed the way we look at technology usage. Dunstan, do you mind to give a brief introduction of yourself and tell us about your experience in the blockchain space?
Okay, I've been in the space since late 2010, been an early miner. Been doing quite a bit of stuff in the space, including training influencers, architecturing tech, been part of quite a few teams, have done extensive ICOs, invested in quite a few of the major projects also. Currently involved in quite a few NFT and DeFi projects along the way. Yeah, so this is part of my journey. Yeah, I also written a crypto book called The Bitcoin Dystopia.
Thanks, Danson. So in the past 11 years since the Bitcoin has started, what do you think of this year, in year 2020, and how is it looking like for the Bitcoin space?
Yeah, the year 2020 is an interesting year actually. In the Chinese year, we actually believe that 2020 being the year of a rat is also the year of the pestilence. But yet, being also the year of the rat is also a year where things are moving extremely fast, especially digitalization. You see, like major countries in the world, they have no choice but to embark in digitalization, especially of their fiat, because there's no choice. People can't transact physically, especially with lockdowns going on all around the world. But of course, small, medium enterprises have been hit greatly, and close to 50% of the small medium enterprises around the world have closed down. I think this is a year in which there's going to be major evolution of how we do businesses.
So with this transformation in many industries, especially in small medium enterprises, what do you think are the opportunities that are arising in terms of adoption of technology due to a change of lifestyle? I realized that in my country, in Malaysia, we seldom use any payment app for payment for the last 5 years. But out of nowhere this year, even my parents starting buying groceries online, and they make payment online too because they had no choice. So in terms of that, what do you see the opportunity like this year?
Yeah, so this is the interesting part for our blockchain space actually. This might actually be the year where it will start propelling the human race to start digital, like having more of the activities online. We used to be able to go for events, we used to be able to go for meetups, we used to go and meet the VCs and so on, physically meet people, meet the retail guys and so on. But now we have to do everything online. I mean, we are having this stream online, but yet online is the way to go because it scales. Like one stream can actually easily reach maybe even close to 1 billion people if the internet infrastructure is there to support. And digitally, when it comes to payment systems, we see banks, financial institutes, they've been holding a lot of control over the transaction of value around the world. But with digitalization, with tech coming up, more and more companies are becoming empowered, right, to take away that influence from the traditional space, and this is something exciting. So what I see is businesses should start digitalizing. They should start using payment systems if they want to reach more clients. They should be doing more advertising online. It's a world where you can start reaching millions and billions of people in an instant. So why are they not doing it?
So I think there are a lot of challenges in the digitization of the technology, and also in terms of data securities and cyber securities. Especially this year, we see a lot of major um, downfall of security breach in the tech space. There have been quite a number of big sort of a hack. We call it a hacking of many exchanges, bankings, even Twitter got hacked. You know, many of our friends' Facebook accounts got hacked this year in particular. So, what are these solutions towards privacy, data security, and cybersecurity?
Okay, actually, the biggest solutions that we can have is actually between the keyboard and the chair. It is not like I know a lot of the experts in the blockchain space. They keep talking about you know like blockchain being the cybersecurity, blockchain being able to be, because it's immutable and therefore it helps in cybersecurity and so on. Actually, that's a huge load of bullshit in that sense. What's the biggest barrier between a hacker is actually the person that's actually sitting on the computer seat. That's it. It's you yourself. Why? Because at the end of the day, right, most of us are we are not educated enough. We never go and learn about cybersecurity. We tend to use the same stupid passwords among all our websites, all our logins. Like you,
Forget it as well.
yeah,
To forget the
like,
password as well. That happens
yeah.
to most of us.
And worst thing is, you know, we have two FA systems that are using the phone, and yet SIM hacks are so prevalent. All a person needs to do is to walk past you, scan a near field across your phone, and they have access to your SIM. And that was what happened to some of the exchanges where the two FA of the people got hacked rather than the exchange itself getting hacked. So actually, it's not blockchain tech that was the problem. It was actually the user problem. It was actually them interfacing with fake links, phishing sites, and so on. It was the people not using their ledgers, keeping their cryptocurrencies on exchanges. Uh, we old guys like to say, not your private key, not your coins. It's as simple as it is. Yeah. So you put it on the exchange, you are using their private key. You are not holding on to yours. So technically, if the exchange decide to walk away with your crypto, they can.
So in a way, for most of people here who are in the blockchain or Bitcoin space who actually had a blockchain wallet, so to speak, or a crypto wallet, they will probably know what you're talking about. You know, private keys, cold wallet. But for those who do not know or hearing this for the first time, can you like tell us in layman term what is this about? Especially when you talk about private keys. Losing your private keys is equivalent to losing your wallet.
Okay, think of your hot wallet as your banking account, and just think of your cold wallet as you putting money or something of value into a real bank vault. That's it.
Right.
So most of the time, we don't go and assess the things in the bank vault, but we will assess the things that we will assess the account that we generally want to spend, our spending account, and so on. So I always recommend take a large portion of your assets and put it in a vault rather than to leave it in your spending account. Obviously, when it's connected to 2FA and so on, if hacks happen,
hide it away. Yeah.
Yeah, hide it away somewhere, man.
Thanks for that, Dunstan. I think that will be easier for most of the newcomers and to know more about our space. This year is an interesting year because we see a huge change in terms of the people towards the passion in decentralized finance. The hype has been around. Comparing a centralized exchange and decentralized exchanges, what are the message that you would like to share with us about the year of DeFi in 2020?
Okay, so finally, right, after 3 to 4 years,
Yeah.
there is an exciting new shift in the DeFi space, in the cryptocurrency space actually, which is the DeFi movement. Now, it's not about like earning more cryptocurrencies, earning more Bitcoin and so on, like what the traders are doing, people investing and so on. But it's actually taking structures like financial structures that people used to not even understand in the old financial world, and then now putting a tech tangent to it. And the fact that because it's DeFi, it's decentralized finance, people, common laymen now have access to exotic products, financial instruments that they could never have access to. They were gatekept by the regulators, who, in a sense, they say that, we are protecting the users, we are protecting the layman, we are protecting the non-institutionalized investors, and therefore we don't want to let them participate in this. But that, to me, right, is a form of gatekeeping. It's like saying, you are unworthy. You should not partake because you do not have a certain capital size on your own. And that doesn't make sense. You see, it's supposed to be a free world. It's supposed to be free markets and so on. And yeah, why are regulators stopping people from doing it? And at the end of the day, right, if something happens to the investors, right, all the regulators do is they fine the institutional, they find the banks, they find the projects and so on. But yet, which one of these funds actually goes back to the investors who actually lost their money? So
Mm.
how are the regulators even effective in the first place? We see so many major banks in the world being hacked, giving out information, participating in money laundering, and the amount that they get, the earnings that they get compared to them, the amount that they are being fined, right? It's just such a big ratio. But yet, when it comes to the blockchain space, when they fine us, the blockchain companies and so on, the fines in ratio are way too high compared to what's happening in the financial institutes, man.
So it's interesting that you mentioned this because most of us in the space knows that you are one of the victim of a huge hack in the Bitcoin space. So you lost a few thousand Bitcoin in the Mountain Gox hack. Back then, it was a centralized exchange. If it was a decentralized exchange, how would this be different?
Actually, it would have been worse in a sense, because if it's a decentralized exchange, technically the loss would have been purely permanent. But in
Yeah,
a centralized exchange, what happens is there is somebody to sue. There's a class action suit
right,
that's happening. Yeah. Not just on
right.
Mt. Gox, but also on the Japanese government and the regulators and so on. So it pushes somebody to take responsibility. But if it's a decentralized exchange and this happened,
Mm.
technically the person totally loses their funds.
So in a decentralized meaning, is a wallet to wallet, bank account
Correct.
to bank account, sort of similar ideology where money goes from this wallet to the other wallet directly without an intermediary or without a middle party, right?
Yes.
So that's why you're saying that if that Bitcoin is being transferred from that wallet A to B, is done.
Is
And
that,
there's no
yeah.
way you can track it. Is there a way you can track it actually if it's a decentralized
Okay,
exchange wallet? Yeah.
okay, if it's Bitcoin transactions, right, and most of the other cryptocurrencies, they are actually pseudo anonymous, which means that you can use Block Explorer, you can track the account,
Right.
but and you can do chain analysis, you can check IP addresses and so on. But that's it. You might not be able to track. A normal person would not be able to track because they generally do not have access to chain analysis. They
Yes.
do not understand how to do it. They do not have access to like IP triangulation. So even if they, even assuming they know the IP,
Mm.
but there's no person that they can link the IP to, you see.
Yep.
Yeah. So unless they also know how to figure out the IP geolocational and so on. so in a sense, right, there are layers of tech in between that makes it extremely difficult for people to track.
Right.
Yep.
So in a way, it's a pros and cons in the DeFi space where there are still a lot of opportunities. A lot of services could be improved to make it more safer and more transparent, especially for regulators, for users protection.
Yeah, so for users protection, right, I think the foremost is user themselves educating themselves. If you use a service that the code is unaudited, or even if somebody put the word put in their website, their services, their smart contracts and so on have been audited by who?
Mm.
Who is good enough in the space where when they audit, right, it's like a notary, it's a lawyer notary. If the lawyer notarize something, right, if anything happens, people can still go and find the lawyer. But in our case, even if the code is audited, if something goes wrong, can somebody goes to the code audit company and and ask them to be responsible? So like what I say, there are pros and cons in this. The pro is this: there is no longer any gatekeeping. Anybody can come in and do whatever they want using the smart contracts, using the services, using all our different blockchain services. However, the biggest con is this: they now hold 100% of the responsibility of whatever they are doing, even if they don't get it.
Right. So it requires the user to hold full responsibility for whatever action they take.
Correct.
Even
Yeah, even if they are
their own
ignorant, right?
tech.
Yeah, they can't say that, oh, I don't know, and therefore I should not have
Right.
been
But they can't
have
give
gone
you
through
excuse
this
if you
experience.
lose
Yeah, so
anything
there's no
or
excuse
make
anymore.
any blunt out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean
there's pros and
that
cons
is so
of
that to
it.
me is actually good, to be honest, because then it holds the user own accountability. They are accountable towards all their actions, which I feel should be the case in the free world. People should be accountable to their own actions and not when something happens, then I throw it to somebody else. Or it's the bugger's responsibility, not my fault
Yeah.
because I'm stupid.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
So Dunson, this year we saw a lot of changes in the central bank digital currency or CBDC. And we saw the Bank of Japan announce recently that they are going to launch a proof of concept for digital currency in 2021. The Bank of Thailand has actually launched a digitization of the bonds and issued bonds on the blockchain this year as well. So I think if the central banks are looking into adoption of blockchain and launching their own digital currencies, what do you foresee in the future with the current trend of DeFi and the adoption of blockchain?
So what I see is this: they adopting blockchain for cryptocurrencies for their own fiat systems itself,
Yeah.
right?
Secure,
Is
yeah.
Yeah, so it is a pros and cons to us. Pro is then more people will be used to using digital assets.
Mhm.
The con is this: they have infiltrated and they've come in our ecosystem. They are putting back their same gatekeeping mechanisms. I mean, this is just digitalized fiat using blockchain technology.
Right.
Although
So in the
technically
future,
it's a
for
crypto.
example,
Yep.
Lanson, if I put into perspective, if China launches a digital yuan,
Yep.
Japan launch the digital yen, and Thailand launched the digital baht, right?
Yeah.
And with our decentralized wallet, we can actually swap, assets directly. But the digital yuan is actually centralized, managed by a central bank.
Correct.
But they will know exactly where that digital yuan went through my wallet, and say I transfer another $100 to say Magnus in in Nordic countries. So they actually know, and actually it's a lot of transparency being put into this space then, in a way.
Yeah, so this is actually what they are doing, you see. But to me, accountability needs to go both ways. They want us to be accountable to them. They want transparency on our end, our spending habits, what we do. So technically, right, the last privacy in this digital era is actually our financial privacy. That is the final frontier.
Right.
If we give up our financial privacy, that's the end of our lives actually. We can for sure the dystopian economy will start coming up, because they can say that you're not allowed to spend your digital yen in this and buy this thing. They can literally stop you from accessing any service, buying any sort of goods if they want to.
Mm.
And when that starts to seep in, right, think of all the sort of control, right, they can force the people into. And they
Right.
can say that, you have $1 million in your bank, but I only allow you to spend like $50 a day. But you have $1 million in your bank. So how?
Right. So it becomes data transparency and also a sovereign freedom for
Yeah.
people on how they want to manage their asset in the future. That will be something that everyone is looking forward to, explore how we can protect, have a balance actually between, what should the government know, or, the treasury of the country know, or taxation department know, or what should I, be keeping away from my own privacy or my legacy planning for my next generation or my family. So I think that is something that still a lot of things that can be done moving forward in this space. Yeah. I think we have about a couple of minutes. Sergey, if I'm right, can you please give us a time check on that? Yeah.
Guys, you have 5 minutes left. It's okay.
5 minutes left. All
yes,
right.
you can continue the topic with the Magnus. The stage is yours.
Thanks, Sergey. So, listen, just last 5 minutes. Let's deep dive into the last 2 months, 3 months of this year, where we still see that COVID is still at hype in certain countries. Some are better in shape. What do you foresee, in this year's in terms of the trends in DeFi and in Bitcoin space?
Okay, so technically, obviously, this month was supposed to be a bad month for Bitcoin because of like BitMEX, and after being well, I should not be using the word incarcerated, but at least and there's a huge shuffling in the team and so on. So the Bitcoin prices were hit, but this month, October, the old guys, we like to call it the Pumptober. So what that means is that, yeah, we are still expecting a slight pump of cryptocurrency prices. Yeah.
Right.
So what we are seeing is this: more and more people would be used to using digital assets, which also means that more and more fiat value, right, would be flowing into the crypto space also. Because it's not just payment gateways like Grab, like Alipay, like WeChat, and so on. So like even PayPal and such. The blockchain payment systems, right, have their own place. Yeah, and we see more and more value from the old flooding in. We have Jack Dorsett coming in, like buying like $50 million worth of Bitcoin.
Yep.
Microfinance coming in, buying a huge amount of BTC, has a hedge against the current financial ecosystems. So yeah, they know that our space is where the value should be put at already. And people are getting smarter and smarter. Whoever is still saying that, like Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, scams and so on, right? They should be looking at the fiat they are holding, man. It's being devalued every day just by pure printing of money.
And for some of the countries that have actually lost the value of their currency overnight due to bankruptcy of their central bank and the country, that certainly experienced a lot because their fiat value just diminished.
Dropped to zero, man. Close to zero.
Pretty much. In terms of those countries who are so unfortunate, we see a hype in usage of digital currency. okay, whether it's Tether coin or Bitcoin or any sort of crypto that they would find easier to use in their ecosystem. How do you see this trend moving forward in advanced first tier or second tier countries?
Okay, so what is happening is around the world, economic systems are failing. Fiat systems are failing. We are off for a financial reset. This is the same reason why Bitcoin was created 11 years ago. Yeah. So what is going on with the COVID thing, right? You know, everything is pushing onto a global economic reset. And the fact is these governments, these regulators, these financial institutes were not accountable to the people. How do you allow a whole nation to become bankrupt? How? It's close to impossible, you know. Like let's say, for example, every individual person, right, has to overspend their own amount in a sense for a whole country go bankrupt. But obviously, it's not the people that's doing that spending.
Yep, certain people or
Yeah, it's the
certain
government.
external
It's
force causing the country to bankrupt.
yeah, it's the banks and so on. So now and then at the end of the day, it is the people that suffer. Nobody like these regulators, these financial institutes, these governments are not held responsible, and the people are not educated enough. They don't know what's going on, and then they suffer. I mean, I
So what would be
remember,
the
right?
advice for these people actually, Dunstan? Because we talk about some of the challenges that they are facing.
Get off fiat. It's as simple as it is. Use cryptocurrencies to transact. Because at the end of the day, right, or at least be using Bitcoin to transact, because nobody is really controlling Bitcoin. They can't stop you from transacting.
For someone who hasn't used any digital currency, what is your recommendation for them? For the first
Simple.
time.
For the first time in our lives, right, we have the Library of Alexander in our graphs. It's the smartphone. And I'm sure most of the people in the world, including those in developing nations or undeveloped nations, have the smartphone. They can go and learn. There are so many YouTube videos. The access is there. Type out how to transfer Bitcoin, or how do I receive my Bitcoin? How do I spend my Bitcoin, and so on. Just
Okay.
Google it. Yeah.
Just Google it. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dunstan. I think I have less than 20 seconds towards the end of this session. Yeah, thank you for your sharing today. And I think I hope it's insightful for both the newcomers and some of the people in the crypto space. Look forward to more discussion, and any questions, feel free to contact us and PM us. You can find us on LinkedIn.